You know, there are some ideas out there that are so ridiculous. Conventional wisdom would scream to you, how could anybody in this world hold these ideas? They're so self-evidently wrong that you'd be amazed that anybody would hold these ideas. But rest assured, for every stupid idea out there, there's at least one person that thinks it's a good idea. You know, and hell, usually there's a little bit of a following there. I mean, obviously, there were enough people that thought Jim Jones was a great leader, and subscribed to his ideas, and, Jonestown Massacre. Obviously, you had people that thought that the world was flat at one point, but I'm putting those aside. The idea I'm talking about now, the ridiculous idea that I'm talking about in this video, is the idea that we should handle adults with children's gloves. So let's get back, let's get into it. All right, so obviously, it's been directed to the Hey Anti Feminist video, via response video. By the way, I've seen response videos to this video before, nothing new, and all the people who did responses to this video were pretty much spot on the head. I really liked the Justicar's response to this video. It was a pretty decent response. That, however, is not the topic of tonight's video. It there's another notion I want to address. I was looking down in the comments, to the actual Hey Anti-Feminist video, and there's a shocking number of adults out there that think we really need to be treating other adults, handling them with kids' gloves. I guess that we need to coddle people who are supposed to be grown-ups. And the fact of the matter is that's just really a bad idea all around. I mean, you want to go into conjecture about this? Or anecdotal experiences about this? Well, I don't think I've ever seen somebody who's received a lot of praise in life that didn't turn out to be a douche, There's a point where you can overpraise somebody. And yes, at times, certain criticisms, sometimes certain insults are necessary for somebody's development, That's just the way it is, And while it may not necessarily feel comfortable at the time, for some people, not getting praised all the time or getting insulted a little bit, here and there. The fact of the matter is that you are going to need the criticisms in order, and sometimes even the insults, in order to develop as a person. I'm not advocating to go out of your way to be a dick to somebody, but at the same time, I don't think you should handle people with kids' gloves, and there are people out there that do go out of their way to be raging dicks. SJWs included, in fact, I think SJWs are some of the biggest offenders of that at times. That's another thing I've seen about the SJWs, though, is that while many of them claim that, we just want a kinder, friendlier, more gentler world, what they really mean is that they want to be handled with kids' gloves, and then at the same time, they want to be a complete dick to anybody who didn't fall under their parameters of being deserving of that. you know. I mean, have you tried to advocate for free speech in front of some of them? I mean, did you not see the video of Lauren Southern getting assaulted? Oh, yeah. And in the comments section, I did respond to at least one of the people there who's advocating for the idea that we should, or the notion that we should treat adults with kids' gloves there. And it's kind of funny because she says, well, this does real psychological harm. Well, no, it doesn't. The real harm comes from when you treat somebody with kids' gloves their whole entire life, never criticize them at all, always give them a trophy. They never learn how to deal with criticism. They never learn how to distinguish between real criticism and insults. They become emotionally fragile, and the world's coming to an end every time something negative happens to them. This is what you develop here. And I mentioned the case of Elliott Rogers there to this same person too. You see, a lot of people theorize that Elliott Rogers was just some MRA anti-feminist and his mass or his killing spree, was a result of internalized misogyny and sexism in the West, which it wasn't. If you actually read his manifesto or his memoirs, which I did, and you actually think about this critically here for a second, you find out that, okay, Elliott Rogers talked about his childhood being the happiest ever, right? Christmas was always nice, and from reading it, you get the distinct feeling that his parents always praised him. His dad always gave him everything he wanted. I mean, the kid was 22 years old and had a BMW, going to college. Do you think he actually paid for that BMW himself, or do you think his dad gave it to him? Come on. How many of us were given BMWs by our parents? Now, he said his life took a miserable turn pretty much when he, started being attracted to members of the other sex in a sexual manner, right? He when he first, really wanted to start dating girls and everything like that, he that's when his life became a living hell. Also, if you look at his final video, he says that, well, I deserve it. I'm the ultimate gentleman. You put all this together, obviously he was being praised by his parents. Probably never got much, if any, criticism from his parents at all. Got everything he wanted from his parents. And the one thing his parents couldn't outright give him, the love of the women he thought he deserved, and he didn't know how to deal with it. He could not deal with it. He never learned to develop any character. He probably was a really hateful little shit and just couldn't see it because he'd been praised his whole life. And the second somebody tells him no, or the second somebody says something that he didn't want to hear, he didn't want to hear it. So really, at the end of the day, you go through life handling someone with kids' gloves, never letting them have any criticism. Never actually stepping back and saying, hey, people are dicks. People are going to say some douchey things to you. Probably does more psychological harm than telling somebody, from time to time, hey, you suck, you're a fucking idiot, you're a fucking moron. You know? People do need to be able to hear criticisms, and even outright insults sometimes. It helps them grow and develop. You know? Hell, I mean, and by the way, if you stand out for something, you're going to have people that disagree with you. And you're going to have people that insult you. And sometimes you just got to suck it up and say, hey, that's just them. I mean, try being a gun rights advocate. Again, as I put in the comments, you do it long enough, you're going to get some gun controllers out there, gun sense people that say some really fucking hateful things to you. You know? How do you deal with that? Determines what type of person you are. Gun controllers call me an ammosexual. Well, I'm a proud ammosexual. You see the difference in dealing with an insult, with how I deal with the insult versus with these adult children, how they deal with the insult, right? And this is another reason why people cannot stand the SJW community. It's because you have a lot of adult children in there that want to, anytime they get any little insult or any little bit of criticism, oh my God, this is harassment, this needs to be banned. Well, no, yeah, maybe some of it's a little bit of harassment if it's repeated over and over and over again, but, some of it might be just outright meanness, some of it might be people just trolling for the laws, but at some point you got to get over it. At some point, you got to say, okay, you know what? You're an adult here. This stuff's going to happen whether you like it or not. And, what's worse is that we ignore a basic human right, freedom of speech, in order to protect your delicate little feelings. Moreover, if you can't even handle a little bit of criticism online, or I'll go as far as to concede to say verbal abuse online, even though, you might have just made a video telling everyone else to check their privilege, again, something that not so nice behavior in and of itself, but okay. If you can't go as far as to handle that, how are you going to handle a real world problem? What happens? You wake up in the middle of the night and, well, the home you're in is burning down. Now you got to make the call whether or not you're going to try to break the window and get out, or stand there and burn alive. How are you going to deal with a real world issue of having a difficult job to do and trying to make a difficult choice to get the job done? Really something you need to think about. How are you going to deal with the stress of being evicted because you decided not to pay your bills? So really, being told something you don't like, online nonetheless, it really is pale in comparison to something like that. And to advocate we handle everybody with kids' gloves is just doing them a big disservice later on in life. It really is. I don't want to tell you about one of my friends, by the way, in this, because this is very pertinent to this. This guy, obviously, is a bit unusual. He's his own guy, right? This person never owned a firearm before in his life. Of course, he's considering getting some. He was interested in it, right? But his one concern was, I guess, and I know it's Texas. Normally we have our firearms at a young age here. But no, this guy, I mean, he was under the misconception that he couldn't purchase a firearm because of a ticket he had. He thought he was prohibited for that. Yep. Yeah. Really, I mean, there are some misconceptions out there about the laws, there are. But anyway, so he's talking to me about that and all that. I'm like, no, dude, I mean, if you just got a ticket, you're not a prohibited person. And of course, anyway, so he started asking me about, what firearm he should get and all that. And he's really interested in the topic. I was talking to him about it. And of course, his brother and his stepfather was like, and some of his coworkers like, no, man, don't help him do that. He's crazy. You didn't see the way we ripped on him? So I'm thinking, okay, you know what? I'd have more of a concern if you coddled him your whole life. But as you can tell, the guy's his own person, all right? He's 30-something years old. He hadn't done anything crazy or insane, like go out and kill a whole bunch of people yet. He's probably not going to, right? I really don't see the issue. But of course, they were constant on that for a bit. And, well, I talked him through his options on what he could get for a firearm. I mean, I even went to the gun store with him, when he went to purchase it, he was asking me about what was the deal, and he ended up actually purchasing 2 guns. And by the way, this is over 5 years ago. The guy didn't go and shoot up a school. He still has the guns. He still enjoys shooting the guns. But at the same time, to some, I guess, it would seem that was counterintuitive for me to actually advise him on this or help him out or do anything other than say, well, hey, you shouldn't get a gun. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, if he's put up with this his whole entire life, he's pretty well inoculated to it. And, you can tell the guy's his own guy and he doesn't care what anybody else thinks of him. His actions speak louder than any words. And that's just the thing. I would have more issue, as much of a Second Amendment supporter as I am, I would be more concerned if they'd been coddled their whole life and then all of a sudden they took an insult and didn't know how to take it, and now all of a sudden we're wanting a firearm. When you coddle somebody their whole life, they don't learn that they're not perfect. They don't learn that they can be criticized. They don't learn that some of those criticisms are valid. They don't learn that, yes, because somebody's criticizing them, it doesn't always mean that they're doing it to be mean. They don't learn that, yes, there are assholes in the world. But, I mean, if all they do is insult you, you're getting off light. They don't learn, hey, is this valid criticism or is this an insult? They don't learn how to distinguish the difference between the two. They don't learn how to write somebody off. One of the biggest lessons you can learn from a little bit of verbal abuse and a little bit of criticism is that, yes, you find out at the end of the day, that's on them. It's like with me and, well, a lot of Second Amendment advocates. In fact, don't think I know any Second Amendment advocates that haven't had to put up with a little bit of verbal abuse. That's all right, because that exposes their mentality. It doesn't expose ours. That's a statement on them. You know, when a gun controller comes out and tells me to go Second Amendment myself, you know what I see that as now? Yeah, you struck a nerve. Yeah. And it's funny to me, you know? And I wouldn't have been able to get to that point without having some criticism, some insults thrown at me, and without some verbal abuse thrown at me. You know? And I guarantee you, more often than not, some of these people that are whining about harassment, verbal abuse, and all that, and all the psychological damage, have really never had to put up with anything real. And to sit there and coddle them, again, is doing a great disservice to them. You know? And sometimes at the end of the day, you got to admit your idea is wrong. That's how we grow. That's how we learn. That's how we improve. You know? If you can't look back and say, well, hey, I fucked up there, you're bound to make the same mistake over again and continue to hurt yourself or other people. Maybe not physically. Maybe it's financially. Maybe it's career-wise. You know, maybe it's job performance-wise. Maybe it's something in your personal life. But no, handling somebody with kids' gloves is not the way to go about it. So in conclusion here, anybody watching this video wants to do a response video on it, got some criticisms, go ahead, let them all out. Hey, take this video, do a response video. Don't hold back. Y'all take her easy out there.